I'll go down. It's actually better. I like being like right in your face. It's better. Well, yeah, as she said, I'm Joel. I don't call myself Pastor Joel. Be a bit weird. I don't make my son or my wife call me that either. I'm just Joel. But I'm really excited to speak to you guys tonight. I really feel a strong just sense of God and purpose in this message that I want to share with you. And they're just a few ideas, some things that really sat in my spirit passionately for this year, for us, and for me as well. And I want to share with you tonight because I just believe that this place is such a place to encounter God, but actually to grow in our faith and to grow and expand in our understanding of who we are in God, who He's created us to be, and actually to really set us up to be successful in everything God has called us to. That's what we're about in this place, and I want to share with you a message. So I'm going to speak a message. I've called it, Can You Trust God's Timing? And I've spoken to a lot of people, I've got a lot of Christian friends, and it's such an easy thing to say, like, do you trust God? Yeah, of course, trust God. But do you trust His timing? And the answer's always like, yeah, of course. But the funny thing is, when we're trusting God for something, we kind of have this habit, and I don't know about you, maybe it's just me, I'm the only one on the whole earth that does this. I get a little bit frustrated waiting for stuff. Like, I'm like, God, I'm believing for something, and it's been like a little bit longer than I expected, and I'm like, yeah, I better do something, you know, like, maybe it's me, God, you just want me to step out in faith, even though I've already been doing things, and so I just try to start, like, pushing doors open and trying to make stuff happen, and then the door doesn't open, so I'm like, ugh, like trying to actually get through it, and that just gives me a real sore shoulder. It doesn't really get me anywhere, and I start getting frustrated, and we all know the kind of result of that often is to start going, oh, well, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. Must not have heard God right. So it's wrong. That's not for me. That's not for me. I don't know about you, but that happens to me. That is the cycle I get down when I start trying to make it happen myself. And I'm not saying that it's that we should never do anything and just kind of stand there and go, make it happen, God, and do nothing. I don't think that's how it works. We've got to step out in faith and actually do something. There's actually a Greek word for faith. I can't remember what it is, but there's a couple of versions that the Greeks use for faith, and one of them is actually faith in action. It's actually to outwork your faith. And so I believe, yes, we need to step out and do something, but there's just such an element of God's timing that applies to the visions, the purpose, the dreams of God in our world, the call of God in our life. And I want to talk about that tonight. I'm very passionate about it. This is a pivotal time of year for us as well. We've just started the year. It's 2020, the year of clarity, the year of 2020 vision, all that kind of stuff. And maybe that's true. I don't fully know, but other people have other views as well. But that's the vibe at the moment. 2020 vision, because it sounds good. And we're excited about the year, as we should be, because God's going to move. It's going to be an awesome year. And I believe that we're all going to step closer and more into everything that God's called us to as we pursue Him. But it's a funny thing, because we start the year off, and many of us create goals. I preached in December about creating goals and stuff like that. And we've created these goals, and we've set out in this year to start achieving them. And some of us have like hit the ground running. We've changed a whole bunch of stuff in our life. Started going to the gym. Like 60% of New Zealand signed up to the gym 1st of January. And we're like getting right into it, trying to change our life. New year, new me, all that kind of stuff. And we've hit the ground running. Then others of us, we're kind of like, well, January is a bit of a trial period, it's like a trial month. I'll just decide how it's going to go, and then when February comes, I'll decide whether I sign up for the full subscription, of 2020. It's just a trial month. I'll just get into it, and I know one person I spoke to, actually, they were like halfway through the month, it's a bit of a write-off. Like, I haven't started some of the things I wanted to start. I'll just wait till February. I was like, bro, just start now. What are you talking about? Don't put it off. It'll be February 2021 and you're still talking about it. But this is the thing. It's the start of the year. It's exciting. There's some new stuff that we're keen to do. There's visions that God has given us, dreams, maybe fresh ones for this year or maybe old ones that we're still believing for. But it's an exciting year. And it just occurs to me with the stuff that we're believing for, the stuff that we want to do, where does God's timing come into it? And how are we going to stand in faith this year? How are we going to fare in halfway through the year when some of the things we set out to achieve, some of the things that we believe God spoke to us about, which haven't quite started to happen yet? How are we going to fare? How are we going to respond in that moment? It's real easy to get super excited when you first get the goal of vision, and I know what that's like because I'm a bit of a kind of visionary type person. I like to envision the big picture, and God shows me like these big things that that might happen, and He shows me like big dreams and stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah, awesome, let's do it now. And I just get super excited about it. And my youth leaders probably know this very well of me. I'm always casting vision. I'm like, guys, this is what's going to happen. We're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and this is going to happen as a result. It's going to be epic. But there's a process to all of that. And I just want to get into a bit of real talk, hashtag real talk, because we don't always talk about the God's timing part in a real normal sense. When things aren't kind of happening, like I've been saying, like the easy answer is just, all in God's timing. It's okay. Like God's going to work it out, and we gloss over it a little bit. And even though there's elements of truth to that, we sometimes don't open up a proper discussion in and around that. What to do when you're facing this stuff? What to do to actually stand firm in your faith with God and believe that God is really going to come through for you in whatever you're believing for. And, what's up with unanswered prayers? Like, how annoying is that? I'm just going to be up front. Like, it's so annoying. And, sometimes you pray for stuff, and without even, I've prayed for things before, and I was praying about something the other day, and literally half an hour later, my mum calls me with the answer to that prayer. I hadn't spoken to her about it. It was just something that was really kind of getting me down. And I was like, God, you really need to move in this situation. Boom, half an hour later, get a call, sorted. Yo, awesome. That's how it should be all the time, right? But it's not. Why? It's frustrating. And then there are these other small things that we might pray for, or other big things that we pray for, and they've gone unanswered. And maybe it's been a couple of months, maybe it's been, a couple of hours for those of us that are a little bit impatient. Maybe it's been 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. I'm sure we've all got things that we've prayed for that have gone unanswered. And for some of us, that's like a little bit of a no-go zone. Like, bro, you're a Christian. Don't talk about unanswered prayers. People aren't going to believe in God if you talk about that. Only talk about the answered ones, because that builds faith. I get it. It's true. Talk about that. Builds faith. But let's talk about unanswered prayers tonight. We're just going to go there. It's going to be great. Because it's a good question, man. And some prayers, this is the thing too. I've prayed about something, forgotten about it for a couple of weeks, and then it got answered. What? Aren't you meant to pray and fast for 3 weeks to see things come to pass? Isn't that how it's meant to work? That's what happened to Daniel in the Bible. I don't know. But I want to talk about this. And here's the reality. It actually talks about this in the Bible in Daniel 9 verse 20. There's 2 situations where he's prayed for something, believed for something, for an answer, and it's come to him in different timings. So I want to talk Daniel 9 verse 20. He says, I went on praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people, pleading with the Lord my God for Jerusalem, his holy mountain. As I was praying, Gabriel, an angel, whom I had seen in an earlier vision, came swiftly to me at the time of the evening sacrifice. Answered prayers straight away, swiftly even. Awesome. Why can't that happen all the time? So this happens for Daniel. He gets the answer swiftly. And an angel comes too. How many would like your prayers answered with an angel? Gabriel, no less, as well. Like one of the top dogs. How epic is that? Must have been pretty important. Where's those answers for me? Why haven't I experienced that yet? Well, I'm still believing for it. And isn't it great when God answers our prayers straight away? I love it. But then Daniel 10, I'm going to skip through about a bit of this, but it's basically talking about a situation that he is praying for. And he's actually fasting. Talks about not eating any meat or wine. That would be hard, for sure. Maybe not for some, the vegans in the place. Awesome. But, for me, that would be very difficult. No meat. But he's fasting. And then when you skip through to Daniel 10 verse 12, it says, then he said, and it's talking about the angel, because the angels come 3 weeks later. He's fasted, he's prayed, 3 weeks, 21 days, okay? So Daniel 10 verse 12, it says, then he said, the angel said, don't be afraid, Daniel. Since the first day you began to pray for understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your request has been heard in heaven. Epic, that's good to know. I have come in answer to your prayer, but for 21 days the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia blocked my way. Then Michael, one of the archangels, came to help me, and I left him there with the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia. Now I am to explain what will happen to your people in the future, for this vision concerns a time yet to come. So he's come 3 weeks later, this angel, to answer the prayer, to explain. And it took prayer and fasting and 3 weeks to get to him. Now, 3 weeks doesn't sound like a long time, especially for some of you that are thinking, well, I've been praying about this thing for like 6 years. Yo, where's that at? Like, what up with that? 3 weeks? That's nothing. But he's also fasting. So, 1 day of fasting, I feel like I've lived 6, it's like a whole week. Like, sheesh. Food is awesome. So, as you can tell, I love food. So, it's just 3 weeks is a long time when you're fasting. Let me just be really clear on that. And by the way, if I just jump back here, it actually talks about not using any fragrance over that time. So he stunk real bad as well. Just putting it out there. So this has happened for him. He's gotten the answer. And it took 3 weeks. But what I really love in that is it actually says that since the first day you began to pray for your understanding, etc., your request was heard in heaven. And I've come to answer your prayer. But for 21 days, he fought against the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia, who blocked his way. Now, isn't that really interesting? That we can pray for something and it not happen just yet, by the way, just yet. And actually something is going on in the spirit that's blocking the blessing, that's blocking the answer, that's blocking the breakthrough. And we can't necessarily see that, which is why it's frustrating. If you were watching it like a boxing match or a UFC, it's better, just no offense. If you're watching that match, yeah, you get to see the whole thing happen, and you get to see who wins. You know what's going on. If there's a spiritual battle and you can't see it and you're not sure what's going on, it gets super frustrating because you don't know if there's a spiritual battle. You know, who's he fighting? Is he winning? Like, does he need another angel that's 2 weeks away? Like, there's just no, you don't have that full concept. Like, just been real. And so it gets frustrating while you're believing for something and you can't see how far away the answer is, how far away the breakthrough is, how far away the blessing is, how far away that check is for $6,000. Thank you, Jesus. Come on. You know, I don't know who writes checks anymore, but if they're going to write one, write it for me. Just saying. If you're listening on the internet and you still write checks, sweet ass. But it's a frustrating thing. And I want to talk about 3 key points that I think have really helped me and I believe will help you just start to unpack this and actually come away from tonight just with an increased faith level. Like just a spirit of faith that you come out of this place going, yeah, God, I know you got me. I know you've heard my prayers. I know that the answers are coming. I know that the breakthrough's coming, and I'm going to keep believing for it. Because I can't see what's happening. I can't see what the hold-ups is. I can't see what's blocking the path. But I believe that, God, that you will fulfill the word. That you will fulfill the promise. I want to talk about this. Number 1, stop watching the wind. When you're believing for something, and you're watching the wind, which means you're watching for what's happening and you're kind of searching your internal weather forecast to see how you feel about something, chances are it's not going to lead you closer to the call of God in your life. Now, I was thinking about this because I used to watch the news with my dad all the time, something that doesn't happen so much anymore. People don't necessarily watch the news or watch the news for the weather especially, but that's what we did when I was growing up. Like I'd sit with my dad after dinner, we would have had a mean feed, we'd be sitting down watching the news. I'd want to watch something else clearly, but my dad was, you know, man of the house. We had to watch the news and he was waiting for the weather and then he'd usually switch to something else, but we'd watch the weather. And why would you watch the weather? I mean, the same reason you'd check your weather app right now. You want to know what the haps is with the forecast. You want to see whether it's going to be sunny today, whether it's going to be a bit of a drizzle, or, you know, fine in the south, whatever it is. You know, you want to know if it affects you. If you're going to the beach, yeah, you check the forecast because you want to know whether it's going to rain while you're at the beach and going to, you know, be a bit of a bummer. So we check the forecast through a nice app now, but we used to watch it on the TV. And my dad would check that weather forecast and start deciding whether, you know, he'd throw a few comments my way. Oh, it's raining tomorrow. You better walk to school. And I'm like, Dad, I don't want to walk to school in the rain. You know, make these little comments and stuff like that, just a bit sarcastic. And but he would start to plan. He'd start to plan the next day. He was thinking, should I go for a ride tomorrow? Because he's a bit of a cyclist with his shaved legs and whatnot. But he would plan his day. And he would start to decide whether he was going to drop us off. He'd start to decide, well, am I going to go for a ride? Or maybe I should go in the afternoon. He'd make his decisions based on the weather, some of them. And I think the thing that I took out of that, as I was thinking about this with God, is just, this would help my dad and us determine what we would do the next day, or help make wise decisions. But I think that stop watching the wind really means that we need to stop watching that internal weather forecast that's going on. Some of the things that we've set out to do this year, some of the things that we've committed to this year, some of the things that we've told our boss we would do this year, some of the things we've told our wife to do this year, Bridie, if you're listening. You know, some of us have told our husbands we'd do certain things this year. When we're deciding to do them, we feel very different to how we feel when we go to fulfill them. Let me tell you right now, deciding to sign up to the gym, easy decision. Super easy. As long as, you know, it's cheap enough. Sign up, done. Next day, 6 a.m., have to go to the gym, very different story. Very different. It's hard. If you're not used to going to the gym, you wake up and you're half alive And your kids, if you've got kids, have woken up 6 times that night, and they were fine the day before, but not the night that you need to go to the gym in the morning. They wake up 6 times, and you wake up and you're like, and you stumble out of bed, and you get changed. I'm going back to bed. It happens. I'm just being real. It happens to me. I need to change that. I'm going to change that this year, for sure. That's what I told my wife. I'm going to do it. But the way you felt when you decided to commit to the thing feels very different to how you feel when you go to fulfill it. And this is what I mean by checking our internal weather forecast. We got to be better than that. We can't decide, I'm going to do something, and then in the moment when we feel I can't be bothered, I'm tired, I don't feel like I got the courage for that, I'm exhausted, and we have all the excuses and all the emotions come up, and we decide not to do it. Some of us, the commitments to people around us, but even commitments to yourself, because those are the easiest to break. Because it's not going to hurt anyone except ourselves, but it hurts us in the long run. So I want to talk about this because I believe that when we do this, it actually trips us up in the call of God for our life. It actually trips us up in that walk in faith for the vision and call and dream and purpose that we believe we've been made for. Because we're believing God for this thing, but if we can't be faithful in the little, how can we expect to be faithful with more? And the vision and dream and purpose that God has given us is far greater, far bigger than we could probably even fathom. And we start to imagine it and envision it and start to see some of these things that we feel just like we were born to be and do. But if we can't be faithful with just the small things, you want to own a business, but you can't show up on time for work. You can't honor your boss in that way. How do you expect your employees to treat you when you own your own business? If you want to be a doctor, but you cram at the last minute and you're just scraping by on your exams, it's going to be a tough road. Not impossible, but a tough road. Because the level of academia you have to meet is very, very high. There are a lot of people trying to get into a very few number of spots. So the reality is that we need to be faithful with what's in front of us, faithful with what we have in our hand. Which is my second point. Trusting God is about being faithful in the little. It says in Luke 16 verse 10, if you are faithful in the little things, you will be faithful in large ones. But if you're dishonest in little things, you won't be honest with the greater responsibilities. For those of you that were dishonest with your parents, maybe, perchance, when you were younger, or right now, perhaps. If you're dishonest with your parents now about where you're going when you go out at night with your friends, how do you expect them to trust you? Or how do you expect to be honest about the bigger things, the greater responsibilities that they may want to give you? If we're dishonest with our boss about what's going on, about the deadline that we missed, about how we've been late to work all week because of this reason that we made up on the way, if we're dishonest in that, how do we expect our boss to give us greater responsibility and us to be honest and trusted in that space? We reap what we sow, right? So we need to trust God in the small things. And the final thing I want to talk about here is holding fast to the vision. See, it's important to do the things I've just said, not be ruled by emotions, because our emotions are a great indicator but a horrible decision maker. So it's important to not be controlled or directed by that, like being floated around in the wind like a leaf. But it's also important to trust God by being faithful in the little things so that He could give us more and we could step into more of what He's called us to. But around that as well is about holding fast to the vision. I don't know if you know the story about Abraham and how he was promised to be the father to many nations. And he was so old when he had his first child. Mega old, dude. So old. How old was he? 90, 98, 100 and something? I should know. I'm sorry. I apologize. Rebuke me later, Pastor Brent. He was mega old, though. Like, way older than us. Like, I was 20... I should know this too. 25, I think, when my first son was born. And he was like 4 times older than me. That's insane. His first child. But when was he promised to be the father to many nations? Years and years and years before that. And he had to hold fast to the vision. To go, God, I believe you at what you said, but dude, I'm getting super old. Like, please, come through for me now. I don't know how much longer I got. I'm pretty sure I'm past the date. Like, seriously. But he's holding fast to the vision. 90. There we go. Got the first part right. 90-something. It actually says in the Bible that Abraham, against all hope, Abraham, in hope, believed and so became the father to many nations. How do you hope against hope? How do you do that? Well, there's 2 different hopes at play here. When you, against all hope, do something in hope, the second hope there is talking about an excited expectation. It's a position of faith. In hope, excited expectation of the good outcome. The first hope, I believe, is more of a worldly hope, like the situation that you see. He looks at his situation and goes, I'm 90 years old. It's pretty hopeless to have a kid and 90 years old. Like, that's a pretty hopeless situation. If you met someone this week and they're 90, and they're like, I'm going to have a child. It would be very hard to keep a straight face at that. Like, all love to them. But in that situation, you'd be like, let's be real. Like, you might be like 1 or 2 years past that, you know? Like, it would be really hard to believe that. But Abraham did. When he was 90, he was still going strong. He had his moments, but it says, against all hope, Abraham in hope believed and so became. So against all hope, against the hopeless situation, Abraham took a position of hope in faith to go, God, I believe you. I believe the word that you spoke, the promise that you spoke. I believe that it carries more weight in my life than my situation does. And so I believe you at your word, and I will carry that until it happens. And so believed and became the father to many nations. The promise was fulfilled. So I want to speak to you tonight. Whatever you're facing, whatever situation you're in, if you're 90 and you want to have a child still, I believe with you. But whatever your situation is, seriously though, whatever your situation is, honestly, it might seem like you're down and out. It might seem like there's just no hope at all. You might have even had people tell you that there is no hope for you. You want to do that? Are you sure? I don't think that's right for you. And you walk away going, oh, I thought I heard you, God. Why are people telling me I can't do this? Whatever your situation is, whatever you're believing for in your world, whatever you want to see God breakthrough in, whatever you're dreaming to do in God, it's time to hope again. It's time to believe again. It's time to stop being pushed around by our emotions in the wind. And whatever goes on, whatever happens, you get a bad sleep one night, somebody starts yelling at you at work, whatever the situation is, you put the emotion to the side and you go, God, I just believe and put more weight into what you said about my life than what is going on in front of me. And so I'm going to be faithful. And I'm going to step out in faith right now, even if it's the smallest, tiniest thing, so that you could use that. And God, I could step closer into all that you've called me to. So whatever you're facing tonight, I want to pray. Because I've taken 3 things, and I hope you have too, around this tonight. Number 1 is that the answer to your prayer is coming. It hasn't fallen on deaf ears. Number 2 is that you need to trust God in what you already have. And number 3 is to keep believing hope against hope. So I'm going to pray tonight, and I believe that actually there's a spirit of faith in this place that you would just encounter tonight and carry with you into your world, into your situation on Monday. So Lord, I just declare over every person here, every eye closed, I just pray for every person here that you would move in power in their life. God, that you see the situations, you see the things that they feel called to and they're dreaming for, God. You created them for those purposes, Lord, and so you have a plan. So right now I declare that over the plan and purpose of every life in this place, that God, you would move in power, that you would bless them, God. Lord, that even this week there would be revelations around the dream, around the gift, around the calling, God, that would build faith inside of them, God, to see a little bit more of the picture of what they're building in every step they make. God, I declare that there would be faith to step out in the places and spaces that people need to step out in, God, that you would show them doors where to knock right now, God, that you're going to open in Jesus' name. And so I just declare that spirit of faith would be infused into every heart in this place right now in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, that's all I have for tonight. I'll pass to you.
Wow, that's awesome, Joel. Why don't you give it up for Joel? Shot, Joel. I like the real talk, eh? Bit of real talk's always good. So that's it for tonight, folks. Love, thanks for coming out. And we've got the coffee machine open and things like that. So